Year-end payroll 2015, where we're going to talk about some year-end payroll items and talk about some 2016 items coming up. So my name is Mike Weller. I'm a partner in the Business Advisory Services Department. I specialize in payroll taxes amongst many other tasks that I have here at Maynard Costerisan. For most of you, this will be a review, things that you're doing right. So hopefully that's an encouragement and way to go, and you're ready to go for the year end. Some of you, there will be some interesting new information that you might find helpful. So there's a few changes, but many of the same things in 2015 will be the same for 2016. So we'll start going through this information together. So the first thing that we want to kind of look at, the first page here, is our year-end checklist. And this time of year, many of you and I am looking at our holiday processing schedule here for Christmas and New Year's Day schedules. When are those payrolls going to be processed, and when do we need the information by? And those days are coming up quickly. And so it's also important to identify the last payroll of the current year and the first payroll of the new year. This is important to determine when tax tables are updated for 2016, as well as you need to know when the last payroll is, so you can know when do we have to finally get those extra fringe benefits entered in. When do we need to take and make any different adjustments to put those in. So it's important to really identify when those payrolls are. Also, it's going to, with the holiday processing and such, you're going to have to determine when do you need to process your direct deposits, and how many days before do you need to have those processed. The other item would be January 1st, 2016 is Friday. So I'm finding many of my clients, their payday is Friday, January 1st. So they're deciding whether or not they are paying on January 2nd, or whether they're moving that and paying that on December 31st. So just make sure your employees have a heads up, and that you look at that and communicate with everybody when those payrolls should be processed. With the different items to look at for scheduled year-end payroll adjustments, group term life insurance, which we'll talk about later, personal use of company cars, education assistance items, any year-to-date corrections, if you have any manual payroll checks that you've written that need to be put in your payroll system, or any third-party sick pay reporting, are some of the items that you need to think about including in your payroll, and making sure that information is going to be reported on the W-2 properly. These adjustments need to occur before that last payroll run, so that the Social Security, Medicare, and other applicable taxes can be withheld from the employee's pay if necessary. Also, you need to consider the different tax deposit requirements too when these payroll items are made. Make sure the taxes are deposited appropriately and covered. There's also need to remember any employer items that need to go on the W-2 that maybe need to be entered into the payroll system. And one example would be for your health savings account. Any employer health savings account contributions need to be reported on the W-2 as well. So, as well as the cost of employer health coverage, which we'll talk a little bit about later too as well. Many of you should also have your forms, your W-2 forms already ordered and probably already in hand. I know our forms just received, we received our W-2 forms a couple of days ago, so I made sure that those are ready to go. Also, we need to notify all employees, and usually we need to do that by December 1st to review the W-4 status. But if you haven't done that yet, the new W-4 form is out for 2016. So now's the time to remind people that if they want to have their exemptions amounts or the allowances changed on the W-4 form, then they need to fill out a new W-4 form. Not everybody needs to fill one out, only those individuals that need to change their allowances and those that have claimed exempt on the W-4. need to file a new W-4 form. So the 2016 W-4 forms are available online, irs.gov. You want to take a look at a time to do a preliminary printing of W-2 forms, just to make sure that things are printing in the right boxes and things are looking good there, so you don't have any surprises when you're really ready to print the W-2 forms out. Also, you just want to check on, make sure that you've got enough postage to mail W-2s out. You know, you want to make sure that that postage meter is fed there, and that you have a payroll disaster recovery plan, that you make sure that your software works and you know where backups are and such. The other item that we need to add to the checklist is basically that if you had to file your W-2s electronically, you need to make sure that you log into your socialsecurity.gov and update your password, because your password will expire every 90 days, and it's probably been since last year that you've used your password to log in, but make sure you've updated your password so that you can file your W-2s electronically if you're over 250 W-2s. Okay, most of the updates for payroll information is received between October 15th and as late as November 10th. This year we've received a lot of information, and we'll go through that. We're still waiting for a few pieces of minor information, but most of the payroll information has been received and is updated. One thing to remember about the state of Michigan is that the state minimum wage will increase. We had a hourly wage increase September 1st, 2014, when it went up to $8.15, and January 1st, 2016, the rate will go up to $8.50. So the pay rate is in effect on the pay period, so it's based on when the employee worked that they'll receive that rate. So if they worked in the last week of December and then the first week of January, you'll have two different pay rates. The December pay rate will be in the $8.15 minimum wage, and then the 2016 January pay rate first week, that will be in the $8.50. So make sure if you're paying in the minimum wage rate that you're watching that and updating your payroll records for that for January 1st, 2016. Also for the reporting for the Health Care Act, those for the Affordable Care Act for 2015, employers that are determined to be ALEs, or the large large employers that are over 50 full-time equivalents, we'll talk a little bit more about later as well, do need to report actually for the Accountable Care Act forms, but here what I'm talking about, the Health Care Act and the premiums, and I look at this, is the if you have more than 250 employees, you have to report your health insurance on box 12 code DD on your W-2. So I was getting ahead of myself on the ACA reporting, but for the W-2s, if you're over 250 employees in 2014, then for 2015, W-2s are required to report in box 12 code DD the employee paid and employer paid premiums. So again, we need to report that on the W-2s. This the amount reported does not affect any tax liability currently, but now is the first year reported this was 2014, and this continues now in 2015. So the interim guidance has not been updated since Notice 2012-9 regarding this reporting, but I expect that additional reporting should help clarify this coming up once they have the ACA reporting launched and going. So that's just kind of been stuck there, and there's been no updates. Typically that number of W-2s should have been declining, and but so far right now it's just staying at the 250 as best as we can see. The next page kind of goes through the annual changes, taxes. Again, this is a pretty easy form this year because, as you see, there's not a lot of changes between 2015 and 2016. The Social Security Wage base is going to stay at $118,500, and the tax rate will stay at 6.2%. Same thing with the Medicare tax rate. It will be 1.45% for 2015 and 2016. And again, there's the additional employee Medicare tax on wages over $200,000, which is the additional 0.9%. The employer doesn't match that. It's just an employee tax withholding, additional tax withholding on wages more than $200,000. The same thing happens for the retirement plans. 401k, 403b amounts will stay the same at $18,000, and then the catch-up amount over 50 will be $6,000 for 2015 and 2016. The 408k simple plan again remains the same. That'll be $12,500, and the catch-up will be $3,000 for both years. So again, that's nice. Not a lot of changes, and those numbers will remain the same for 2016. The other item to watch out for on taxes is the FUTA tax surcharge amount. As many of you know, with the federal unemployment tax, it's a 6% tax of wages up to $7,000, and then if you pay your state unemployment wages on time, then you get a 5.4% credit to make that an effective 0.6% tax on $7,000 of wages. There's been discussion. There used to be a 0.2% surcharge that expired probably about a year and a half ago, I believe, or maybe longer than that. But they continue to talk about renewing that on January 1st, 2016. But again, I have not heard anything about that. And the way sometimes government works, they might retroactively put that in. So just be aware, pay attention to that additional 0.2% that they might want to put back into the tax and move that rate up to a 0.8% rate instead of a 0.6% rate. The other item that they're looking at doing in 2017 is moving the wage base up from $7,000, and they're going to move the wage base up to $40,000. So that'll happen, looks like coming up in 2017. And but then they're also going to take the rate and they're going to reduce the rate to be 0.165%. And so basically it keeps the tax basically the same, but really what it's doing is it's forcing all these state unemployment wage bases to have to increase up to the $40,000 level instead of remaining, because you can't have a state wage base that's less than the federal unemployment wage base. So that's just something to look forward to coming up. Again, that's going to be, looks like a 2017 issue, but if you're planning for different things in 2017 or payroll software or different items, then you want to just be aware of that coming up. The other item on this page is the automobile rates. Again, we have not had those issued yet. I looked at them this morning, and they still haven't haven't arrived, and so I expect those any day to have those updated. I know that the charitable activities rate it still remains at 14 cents for 2016. That takes an act of Congress to change. It's buried in a tax bill somewhere that needs to be updated, and they keep looking at doing that. But for right now, that stays at 14 cents a mile. The other mileage amounts, just be aware, they might, because the price of gasoline has decreased and other costs, just watch to see that rate possibly might go down. And if that does happen, you want to make sure that you're using the lower rate, because if you're using a higher rate, you can use a higher rate to pay mileage, but anything higher than the IRS approved rate is taxable to the employee. So you'll want to watch that issue there. On the next page, I just have is different phone numbers and different web addresses to find information, so we don't necessarily need to go through that. On the next page is just a reminder of the publication 15, which is the Circular E, the Employer's Tax Guide. This circular is this publication is very good for getting information about how to deposit your taxes, filing your forms 941, and your federal employment taxes. It also has in your different your tax tables to calculate what the tax is on different payroll checks. There has been some mailings out if your requirement for depositing taxes changed possibly from a monthly to semi-weekly. You should have received a letter from IRS reminding you that will occur. So watch for your information regarding your tax depositing schedule. Publication 15A, the Employer's Supplemental Tax Guide, is another important tax guide. And in here, you'll find it talks about employee or independent contractors. And that's really an important area. And you'll find that there's a lot more audits that are being done regarding the employee or independent contractors. And it's really, there's kind of two ways to look at this. The IRS does these audits in determining workers' classification, and they use the three different categories to determine whether there's an independent contractor or an employee. And the three different areas are behavior control, talks about instructions to the worker, training of the worker, hiring, supervising, working on the employer premises, and setting the order or sequence of work as examples. There's also then the financial control, payment of workers' business or traveling expenses. How do you pay the person? That determines that. Whether you're furnishing workers tools and materials, whether there's a significant investment by the worker. And then the third thing is the type of relationship. Is continuity of the relationship. Do you have a contract in place? Make sure that there's documentation that really supports that this is an independent contractor. It's really important to have that contract in place and that really have the documentation so that when you do have an audit, you can say, yes, this is an independent contractor. The whole goal, is to really classify individuals as employees as opposed to independent contractors. And so they're really taking a hard look at this. The other issue along with independent contractors as well is the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor is also doing audits. Unlike the IRS, which bases worker classification on the common law, the Department of Labor determines workers' classification based on economic reality test. And that's which seeks to determine whether an individual is actually in business for himself or herself. So the employer may not necessarily rely on IRS workers' classification determination in a dispute with the Department of Labor. So there's been some cases where Department of Labor is arguing one way and such. But so the Department of Labor, and I've been involved in the Department of Labor audits, and really it's as long as I had my documentation in place, then everything was fine. But the Department of Labor goes through and looks at some similar issues as the IRS does, but they are working with the states, and there are now 26 states that agreed to share information and coordinate law enforcement with the Department of Labor, and there's additional four more states that have agreed to this. And so there's really a clear effort to really look at who are employees and who are independent contractors, and so it really looks at the payroll tax collecting that's government's looking for, as well as now we have the health insurance issue. So the more people they can determine as employees and such, then factors into all your different health insurance things you need to think about. So just there's a couple different things there to look at with employer independent contractors classification and status, and so take a look at that if you have issues in those areas. Also, publication 15A, we have sick pay reporting instructions, and then this also covers any pensions, annuities, retirement plan issues. There is a new Form 8922 that was used last year that replaces the third-party sick pay recap forms, and that's Form 8922 again, and so that should be used if you have third-party sick pay, and again in this publication 15A are the instructions for that. The next publication, 15B, is your employer's tax guide to fringe benefits. This will help guide you through the different fringe benefits that you may need to report on your W-2, and therefore you got dependent care assistance, group term life insurance coverage, health savings accounts, and then your personal use of company car cents per mile valuation for reimbursing for travel expenses. So those are a few of the many different fringe benefits that you need to consider that are in this publication. On the next couple pages, I basically have some different reconciliation forms that can be used. It's really important to take and make sure that you're totaling up your 4 quarters of payroll, your 4 quarters of quarterly payroll tax returns, your 941 returns, your unemployment returns, and make sure that those 4 quarter amounts equal your year-to-date payroll and the amounts on your W-2. This will make sure that you don't get any notices 3 years from now saying that your W-2s do not match your 941s. So it's good to reconcile. It's good to really understand the different taxable wages, whether your federal taxable wages, your Social Security taxable wages, your Medicare taxable wages, and what the differences are in between to make sure that you're reporting all the information correctly and accurately. So there's just a couple of examples there of those forms to use, and those have been quite helpful in our department, and it's really eliminated any kind of notices that we have for 941s and such not matching W-2s. On the next page, page 12, we talk about reporting and taxation of fringe benefits, and you may elect to handle fringe benefits as paid by the pay period, by monthly, quarterly, or annually. So a lot of times now employers are electing to handle the fringe benefits on a payroll basis. That way you can make sure that everything's included in the payroll, and so if an employee leaves or quits and such, then you already got their fringe benefits handled. So it just depends, but you can also include the fringe benefits in a regular normal pay cycle, or you can do a supplemental pay. And supplemental pay rate for federal is 25%, and the supplemental pay rate for state of Michigan is the 4.25%. The taxable fringe benefits would be reported in boxes 1, Form W-2, and also if Packable could be also included in boxes 3 for Social Security wages and 5 for Medicare wages. Okay, on the next page we have the group term life insurance premium rate table. The group term life insurance premium rate table is based on age, and so you have different age brackets there, and this is the cost per 1,000 of protection for 1 month. And so this is a monthly table, so in order to get the year you need to multiply this by 12. And this is the cost of group term life insurance in excess of $50,000. So if you have group term life insurance coverage for employees more than $50,000, then you need to calculate an amount to include on the W-2. If your group term life insurance is $50,000 or less, then there really isn't anything that you need to do here. Group term life insurance is reported in box 12, code C, on the W-2. Now there is an HR bill 2771 that has been in Congress and is kind of sitting there, and we're waiting for that to move forward. But this bill, HR Bill 2771, is looking at increasing the $50,000 amount up to $375,000. And so that would be really nice if that happened, and then that amount would increase each year depending on values. And so that would eliminate a lot of this reporting, and it really takes a lot of time for really a little bit of an amount, unless you have employees in the higher age brackets. So look for that, and hopefully that will pass soon. The next form I just have in here as an example is the third-party sick pay recap form, Form 8922. Again, look in publication 15A for additional information, but if you have third-party sick pay reporting, you need to make sure that you fill out this form. Also, with sick pay reporting, while I'm talking about that, Usually sick pay reporting is reported to you by the 15th in the month following, so by January 15th. They're to report third-party sick pay to you. Many of you are semi-weekly payroll deposit schedule, so therefore you're going to want to make sure that you kind of pre-plan if you have third-party sick pay and just estimate some payroll tax deposits so that you're not paying those late if you have to record third-party sick pay on your payroll. On the next page, we just talked about verifying employee Social Security numbers. It's important to make sure that the Social Security number information is accurate, as well as there is the Social Security number verification service that will allow you to upload and to verify Social Security numbers information. So I've just included information in the next couple of pages on Social Security number verification service. So if you want to look into that, you can go on the Social Security website and read more about that. Also on page 20, just wanted to remind you about the AccuWage software. Again, this has been updated, and basically the AccuWage software is for those that file your W-2 forms electronically, and it just really looks at your electronic file to make sure there aren't any errors that will keep it from being filed, to make sure that the numbers in the number fields and letters in the letter fields and that the different field sizes, I guess, or whatnot are not, are okay. So it doesn't really check your accuracy of your numbers you're putting in there, but it just corrects, checks the file and makes sure that the file structure and stuff will not cause it to be rejected. So download the AccuWage software if you need to, and use that to help file your W-2s electronically. Again, on page 24, we just have the reminder about the W-4 notice. Again, it's after December 1st, but you need to remind employees to fill out new W-4 forms if they've claimed exempt, because those expire, or if they need to change their allowances. The only way that an employee really can claim exempt is that they didn't have any tax in the prior year, and that they don't intend to have any tax in the current year. So that's basically up to them to sign the form and to say that. That's not for you to try and prove, but you just can't decide you're going to be exempt and not pay tax. You got to have pretty minimal income to not be taxed on that. So anyways, that's the deal there. And then I just have again the W-4, and here's a reminder. Again, the 2016 W-4 is available online to download. Then we have the next page. We have the Michigan W-4, just as a reminder that you need to fill out or have employees fill out the Michigan W-4 for the state withholding. And then if you're in different cities, the form I have here is the City of Lansing LW-4, but if you have other cities that you need to consider, then you need to have employees fill out those W-4s as well, so that you can have the right amount of allowances or withholding on the employees' payroll checks. The next form that we have on page 29 here is the State of Michigan New Hire Reporting Form. Again, just a reminder that this form must be submitted within 20 days of the hire date of the employee. And so just, again, this form is used to follow up on child support, I believe, and see where the employees are working. And so you want to make sure that you continue to fill out those new hire reporting forms. On page 30, we just wanted to remind you that that there's going to be a new Michigan Treasury online service. Many of you know how well the online service worked in 2015. I think they had a lot of issues, and they still are having a lot of issues. And I'm still working with a lot of clients to resolve a lot of issues with the Michigan online service. So they have now, the optimization team has completed design work for release 1, and the launch date is anticipated to happen in early January 2016. So that'll be the elimination of the Michigan Business One-Stop online plan or online program that's currently going on. So you're going to want to watch your information for the Michigan Treasury for the new online program. A lot of they're saying it's a simplified process of login, and that a lot of your information that you've already had in the login will transfer over and such. So again, we're waiting for additional information and understanding how that works. And again, that will be launched sometime in January 15th, in time for when you're ready to file in February for your January withholding coupons and such. So that's coming up with the state of Michigan. The next pages that we have are on the Form I-9 form, the Employment Eligibility Verification form. This form comes up and it expires on March 31st, 2016. So again, in my previous payroll seminars, I would say that this form would expire every single year. And about 3 years ago, they managed to approve this form, and it was good for 3 years. 3 years is up, and now this has expired again. And so we'll see when the new form is issued and such. But again, you only have to fill this form out for any new employees. Existing employees do not need to fill out any new forms. You need to have this form on file, so when the Department of Labor comes in, or the the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services comes in and verifies that you have people that are eligible to work. So make sure that you have these in a file for them to review if you're audited in that area. The next form to remind you about is the W-9 form. This is the request for taxpayer identification number and certification. So this is basically for independent contractors, so you can get the proper business name along with the taxpayer identification number. Typically now in November, I know October, November, they're mailing out mismatch forms where the 1099 information did not match, and so typically the name was not spelled correctly or was missing some information and did not match the taxpayer identification number. So really need to make sure that you have this information on your file, so that if you have something that's incorrect or you get penalized for that you can show, yes, I have a signed copy of the information given, and that's what I reported on. So make sure you have W-9s in your file. The next page is the 941 for 2015. Again, there's been no changes to that. That's used to reconcile and on a quarterly basis your federal, Social Security, Medicare taxes that you've withheld and paid in for the employee and employer. So no changes there on the 941, and there's no changes for 2016 going forward. The next form is the 941X. The 941X again is just used to correct any 941 returns. Again, because you're doing reconciliations and because you're filling out the 941s properly, you don't need to use the 941X. So you're in doing everything well, and so the 941X is just used for different corrections that's available there. The next page, on page 39, we're talking about the W-2 form. Again, there really hasn't been any changes to that going forward, but just a couple other items that have been talked about with the W-2 form. There are some states, and you need to watch this, some states that require the employee, but all the employee W-2 forms have to be filed by January 31st. Now, there are some states that are going to require the employer copy to be filed by January 31st, 2016. So make sure you watch the different states. There's one state, Ohio, that we keep hearing, but we have not heard specifically, but they're talking about filing, needing to be filed by January 31st, 2016. But we haven't heard that definitely yet, but there are several other states that do require the January 31st, 2016 filing. There is a push to move up the employer W-2 filing because of all the tax identity theft and all the different fraudulent 1040 returns that are being filed. And so they're looking at ways to move up the employer W-2 filing date. So that's going ahead to other years. Also, there's still discussions about filing your W-2s quarterly. And I know how much fun W-2s are once a year, but to do that on a quarterly basis, I think is a little ridiculous, but that's my opinion. But they are continuing to talk about filing W-2s on a quarterly basis. So again, make sure you understand what's going in each box number and all the different items that. And then on the next page we have the W-2 box 12 codes. Again, these are all the code letters that have to go in box 12. Some of the more codes that you use are box or code C for the group term life insurance over 50,000. Code D for your 401k plans. Code E for your 403b plans. Code S for your simple 408 simple plans. Code W for your health savings accounts, the employer amounts. And then code DD for the cost of the employer-sponsored health coverage if you're over 250 employees. So there are many other code letters, but those are some of the major, most common letters that are used in box 12. Okay, the next page is basically the W-3, which is the transmittal form for the W-2s. Again, no really changes there, and these forms are due on February 29th this year. It's hard to believe that W-2 season is right around the corner, but we must go forward. The next page we have is Form 1099 miscellaneous form. This is used for independent contractors and also attorneys. So the most boxes that most common boxes that people use are box 1 for rents. So any rents that you pay to LLCs, for example, and such would go in box 1. Box 2 for royalties. If you're different franchisees or paying your franchisor royalties, then those are box 2. Box 3, other income. Box 3 income is not subject to self-employment tax, so it's mostly different awards or prizes and things that end up there. Box 7 is your non-employee compensation box. So this is income or money that's subject to self-employment tax, and so this is for your independent contractors, where you'd place that money paid to independent contractors in box 7. And then any attorney fees, whether incorporated or not incorporated, will need to go in either box 7 or box 14. So any proceeds that, settlements and stuff that have been paid to attorney can go in 14. Any services can go in box 7. If you can't separate out between services and settlement fees, then everything can go in box 14. But you need to report any payments made to attorneys. They're in boxes 7 or 14. Okay, the next page is just the 1096 form. 1096 form is a transmittal form for all your different 1099 forms, your 1099 miscellaneous or 1099 interest, dividends, etc. Page 44, just want to remind you about the form W-2G. This form is used by a lot of nonprofit organizations because they're trying to raise money. So they have a lot of different raffles, prizes, awards, and such that need to be reported. And just a reminder that to use form W-2G for those items. Okay, the next page that we have is really the state unemployment, Michigan state unemployment form that we have. Again, there really hasn't been any changes to the form here. It's been around for a while. The one thing that I do have to remind you or to have you note about that you recall that on page 47 is that beginning with the third quarter of 2015, the Michigan Unemployment Agency announced that they dropped the taxable wage base from $9,500 to $9,000. And that's very interesting to do that in the middle of a year. Most of your employees have reached the $9,500 wage base in the first 2 quarters. And so it makes it a little more challenging now to calculate really what an employee's taxable wage base is, especially if they have, didn't reach $9,500 before the end of the second quarter, and then they reached $9,000 in the third quarter, or they reached $9,000 in the fourth quarter. So now the unemployment agency is making this determination on a quarterly basis. And again, they've sent out letters here for the fourth quarter, and they've announced that the taxable wage base for the fourth quarter is $9,000. So it continues at $9,000, and we'll have to wait to see next year whether the first quarter, by quarter, whether it's going to be $9,000 or $9,500. Now, any employer that owes more than $25 to the state unemployment account, you haven't paid in all your taxes and you're late on that, then you're not allowed to go to $9,000. You have to stay at $9,500. So those are the couple factors that are making the unemployment a little more complex. Again, it's a little bit of money, and it adds some complexity, and it helps. It makes it challenging to really figure out at the end of the year whether your unemployment tax amount is correct, because you have to determine by employee, is this employee a $9,500 employee, or is this employee a $9,000 employee? So good luck with everything on that. And we appreciate our state unemployment, or our government, for thinking of new ways to make our life interesting in payroll. So appreciate all of you out there. And I did just want to mention then, to remind everybody that if you are a Packable large employer, then you're required to file forms 1094C and 1095C for 2015. Again, you're looking at 2014, and you're looking at full-time equivalents to determine how you become 50 or more full-time employer. So again, the 1095C is the form that has to be sent out to all your full-time employees. Doesn't need to be sent out to all your employees, just your full-time employees if you're over the 50. And then that has to be done by January 31st. Also, if you're an employer that also offers health coverage through an employer-sponsored self-insurance health plan, then you also need to complete Form 1095C. Again, this is kind of the first time you have to file this. There's a lot of information that people are trying to figure out still with filing these forms, and how to get the information. And you really have to, it's really, again, another challenging area, because you have to report it that you've offered health insurance coverage for the entire year, or for the employee on a monthly basis. So you've got to track all this. So you got to have a monthly tracking program to track all this, and to know what your affordable coverage amount is, what the different safe harbor amounts are, because it's all based on household income. But as the employer, you do not know what the household income is of the employee. So you got to look at the affordable coverage and work with your insurance companies on this. They're really the ones that are really helping employers in regards to these filings. So you got the minimum essential coverage, you got minimum value coverage, and so you got a lot of terminology, a lot of terms and things that you're going to use and have to go through and learn if you're a Packable large employer. So again, it's very specific from company to company about this, and so really didn't want to spend a lot of time on this, but really needed to know and look at the forms. There is a lot of information on the IRS website to look up this information, and as well as now individuals need to file on their 1040 return. There's going to be a new schedule that they're going to have to fill out and file. So there's going to be quite a few individuals that haven't had to file a individual tax return for various reasons, because they haven't had, had minimal income and such. But now, because of this health insurance issue, they're going to have to file a return just for that health schedule and to make sure that that's all been covered and taken care of. So I think that's about what I needed to cover with everybody this morning. Okay, again, so that if I, again, you have my email address and such. So I know that for payroll people, we still got to get payroll out, and I know a lot of you, the payroll date has moved up to probably December 31st. I hope that you have a good W-2 payroll processing season, and have a good 2016. So thank you. And again, if you have any other questions, you can email me and we'll get back to you. Thanks.